It's insane to see
Yeah.
how big the buildings are, what the architecture looks like, the paintings and things. I mean, this isn't paintings that were just done in the past 100 years. And the architecture, obviously, it's so perfect. You look at the buildings nowadays, and it's like, how did they do that back then, knowing what they have to do now?
Funny how.
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you.
So this is exciting. The fact that you're actually, I mean, I know you're traveling a lot, but now that you're back for at least a little bit and you're able to kind of get your bearings, I know you and the family just got back from Italy.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. So kind of walk me through like what was the motivation about going to Italy, and then, you know, why did you pick the regions you did, and then how long did you stay, all that stuff.
Italy's just been on the bucket list, man, for just like with anybody. I think most people would love to go there. The places, there's so many places to go to.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to pick something unless you're going for an extended period of time. And I'm talking about 3-4 weeks. It's hard to hit everything because you try to do too much. To me, this is my opinion. You try to do too much, and then you don't really get to do anything.
Right.
You know? So like if you want to hit so many places in 8 or 9 days, which we stayed for, I think it was 8 or 9. It's tough to go somewhere and then you get to spend one day because there's so many places that have so much stuff. Like, I mean, you know, food and coffee and just sites and things like that. We stayed in Florence, and we walked Florence for days. Walked. We did not rent a car because obviously I spoke to you before, and that was probably one of the best things that we didn't do was not rent a car, just simply because there's so many. It's such a problem to park. And when I was walking around, we saw cars that were parallel parked within like half an inch of bumper to bumper.
They're pros over there, though.
How do you get out of there? I mean, what are you supposed to do if you're blocked in, you know? So, plus you got to worry about where are you going to park, pay for parking, and then you got to get in your car, go somewhere. So the place we stayed, and this is a little bit off, but I just try to walk you through this. The place we stayed, the hotel we stayed at, was about a 2-minute walk to the tram. So we would take the tram every morning, and we would go down to City Center in Florence. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's where we stayed. Yeah. And we would go to City Center, and then we would just walk everywhere from there. Miles we would walk all over the city. And it didn't bother us. I mean, it made sense because we wanted to see everything. We wanted to see all the stores. We wanted to see every place that they had. I mean, it's like every storefront was a restaurant, right? Yeah. Or a place to get gelato or coffee. Every place had coffee. Yeah. So we wanted to, you know, enjoy all those places. So Florence is where we stayed. We kind of camped out there, and then we went to Pisa, and then we went to Rome. So we spent one day in each of those. I think Rome could be better, I guess, if you had more time. We didn't. We only stayed a day, so we weren't that impressed with it, to be honest with you. I've heard good things about it, but I've also heard a lot of people say it's not the place to go. There's so many better places. So,
it's such a crazy region. Like, I mean, it's you know, it's the New York and the Paris of, technically Milan, I would say, is probably the New York of Italy, but Rome is definitely, depending on where you stay. I mean, we talked about this too, where I stayed like 20 minutes north of the Colosseum, away from the touristy spots, and it was great. Yeah. And then we just kind of took the train to other parts of Italy. Like we went to Amalfi Coast and Salerno and things like that. But it's like going to Times Square during the ball drop. It's just, you know, I mean,
there's so many people.
Yeah. Would it be a cool experience to watch the ball drop? I've watched the ball drop in New York. It's a cool experience, but it is something, once you do it, you're like, I don't know, why did I do this? Like, this was so stupid. It's almost this thing that we fantasize as, I think, Americans, where it's like, oh, you got to do this. This is the bucket list. You know, you have to go to Times Square. You have to see.
You see it and you want to be there, but what you don't take into consideration is all the stuff that comes along with it, the troubles.
That's right.
You know, especially in New York, because for anybody who's been to New York and you're walking wherever, it's hard to pop in and just find a bathroom somewhere.
Right.
which is a big deal for a lot of people, you know? So,
yeah. Well, even Italy is
it's
kind of
always
like
an
that
issue,
too.
but
I mean, it's not as busy, obviously, but it was kind of hard to,
yeah,
especially with a guy, someone with Crohn's disease. It was,
yeah.
I was a little terrified most times to go in there.
I just like when somebody had to go to the bathroom, we're just like, let's buy something, you know?
That's
So
right. And
I
just
would
hang out.
buy an espresso or we'd buy a
Sure.
gelato or we'd buy something. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'd just buy something to make it,
Yeah.
at least where we weren't just going in there to hit a bathroom up. But
Right.
anyway, I mean, so those are the places we visited. But I mean, Florence was beautiful.
Yeah.
I took a lot of photos in Florence, took a lot of photos everywhere, but the architecture of some of those buildings that are built back in the 1200s, you know, maybe 1100, whatever, or it's insane to see
Yeah.
how big the buildings are, what the architecture looks like, the paintings and things. I mean, this isn't paintings that were just done in the past 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, these and the architecture, obviously, it's so perfect. It just makes me wonder how, you look at the buildings nowadays and it's like, how did they do that back then, knowing what they have to do now?
Yeah. And
Which is
then,
a whole different.
yeah. And then you also look at like ipso facto. Okay. So they did that 2000 years ago, but
Yeah.
meanwhile, they have to refill a pothole in my neighborhood like every 6 weeks. Like, why? How have we not?
It just takes them forever to do it.
It's insane.
I mean,
but meanwhile, these structures have stayed for 3,000 years and they're pretty much untouched. It's super fascinating when you see.
Yeah, they just get a little bit of they kind of go in and clean it up a little bit
Sure.
and do some fixing here and there. Obviously, some things happen, but
Yeah.
nothing like, as far as you can see, nothing major structural has happened to these structures.
That's right.
And it's just it's like I said, I took a lot of pictures, and I think what to me is just like you cannot express how pretty, and then the size, the scope of everything there. You can't portray that in a photo as much as you try. And the food is phenomenal. It's just, you have to go to experience it,
Mhm.
and you always hear about, the pizza's different, the pasta's different. You don't get filled up, and you could eat a whole pizza and you walk away, you're full, but you don't feel bloated,
Right.
so you don't feel like you're about to throw up. You shouldn't have ate a whole pizza. It's like, oh yeah, I'm good. Let's go get a gelato and we'll do some walking and then we'll grab some lunch. And I mean, we ate. That's all we did was eat there.
That's right.
But I tell you, and I know there's some bad places there. Obviously there, Italy, there's spots in Italy that are known for a lot of crime, high crime, and pickpocketing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, it's the people were so nice, and it was just a fun thing to do, and it was on our bucket list. Obviously, there's Amalfi Coast we want to go there,
Right.
so there's some other places that we want to hit. But I mean, Florence is, if you haven't been to Florence is a cool place to go. There's so many places to see.
Yeah, we definitely want to do. We want to do Florence. We want to do Tuscany. That's definitely going to be next. Amalfi Coast was great for sure. Unfortunately, when we went though, because it floods a lot there when it does rain, because they just don't have the the structure to handle raining. So like literally, when instead of dealing with the rain and with drainage and putting into the ocean, they don't even do that. They try to figure out ways to combat the flood. So like there's literally guys, when it starts to flood, they'll stand outside the restaurant with a broom and they'll brush the water into the drain, so that way it doesn't flood into the so instead of building drainage, because they don't have money for it, they'll just set up guys to push water out with brooms until the rain stops, and then they deal with it afterwards. And they do it every single time it rains. It's so for hundreds of years they've done it. It's so fascinating how it's such a beautiful country, but unfortunately, to your point, there is some crazy parts. And of course the mafia is still kind of a thing.
The military they were everywhere because the flooding potential, it was so high. It was like feet above the level where it needed to be. And they said that there was a potential that it would breach. And, I mean, it was bad. It was,
Yeah.
the river was running so hard. But then after that, it was like next day, I think everything went down, but it rained solid on us for about 3 days. So we had to walk around with umbrellas, but I mean, we were there.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to stay in the hotel. So we just walked around in the rain, and
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, we want to go back. It's a great trip.
Yeah.
For anybody who can make it. We've missed it every day since we've been back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just different.
I even told you too, when you told me you booked it, I was like, bro, the second you get back, you're going to be looking on fucking Zillow to see if there's any property out.
It's crazy, man. I mean, we always, it's just like, God, can we go back?
Yeah. Well, and I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine who hasn't been to Italy, but has been wanting to go. And I keep telling him how great it is, of course. And I only went once. Everyone that asked me said, "Oh, you've been like 10 times," because how much I talk about it and the passion that I have. But I've done so much research because my family's from Italy. So I've done so much research in my life, and I just know the area, and I just feel like I could talk about it for days. So I have my buddies like, dude, it's not that good. Like, there's no way it's that good. It's just because you went on vacation and you got FOMO. And I go, dude, where do you go on vacation? And he goes, oh, I've been everywhere. I've been to New York and California. What times and what places have you gone where you went to those states or countries like Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, and you said, I'm going to look at property when I get back home because I want to move out there? You've never said that to a place that you traveled to. But I'm telling you, every single person that goes to Italy comes back and wants to look, how can I move to Italy? It's not like that everywhere. 100%. So it's not the whole vacation FOMO thing. It's a real thing because it's...
No, it's not. It's not because, we've been on, I travel. I go.
Yeah, every week you're out.
A lot of places, and I'm in different states. And of course, there's states where you go, oh, this is beautiful. What I would like to be, to live here. And that's one thing, but sounds the same, but it's not, because we've been to other countries. We've been to, Costa Rica, places in Mexico, Honduras, whatever. Sure. And no, I can tell you that it's different. It's just, it's the feel when you're over there. And yes, like I said before, you have to realize when you go on vacation and you go places, yes, when you come back, you miss it because it's fun. You're spending money, you don't work, you're just going and you're doing every day. So you're always doing something. And it's the same in Italy, but it's not coming back and going, God, I just, it's like you said, we would literally move there if we could find a spot that was, worth it. And the kids would move there. Christopher was like, yeah. And he's not one to move. We've been to, we visited some places that we've actually, given thought to. It's like, we want to relocate. And there's only one place that he would go here, and that's in Wisconsin. But that's because of the school and stuff like that. But other than that, they didn't want to come back. We tried to find but we tried to find a way that we could stay for like another week, but I had to come back. I had like a 2-day turnaround before I had to go to Miami. Yeah. But we tried. I seriously gave thought. Yeah. I was like, is there a way I can swing? I don't know. Can I fly from here to Miami? But it would only give me a couple more days. But if I didn't have that trip, we would have stayed probably another 5 or 6 days easily.
Yeah. Well, I even think I told you we originally booked it for 9 days. And it's not enough, obviously. So, but when we went there, we're like, we have the kid. We don't know how crazy. She was only 1 at the time, and she wasn't walk or anything yet. So, we were like, I don't know if it's gonna be worth it. But we ended up staying like at day 7. We're like, we need to extend our stay, because I just used points, right? We talked about that. I just used points to add 2 more nights to it, and we ended up staying 2 more days. Changed our flight. We paid an extra $400 or whatever it was. We didn't give a shit. We're like, the hotel's free anyway because we're using points. So even if we had to spend another $1,000 to stay 2 more days to change our flights, we would do it. And it was the best decision ever because then we just did most of the stuff the entire trip, actually, aside from the Vatican and the Colosseum, and I think the Roman Forum. Those were the only things that we actually did tours. The rest we just walked around and did it ourselves, which I think is personally is the best way to go. The tours are great because you get a lot of knowledge and stuff, but it's no different than any other museum or any other tour you do. It's just it's so crazy and it's so touristy that sometimes those tours are like too much because you're getting loaded with all this information that maybe is interesting to you, but maybe it's not. And if it's not interesting, it's no different than like watching a PowerPoint presentation that you don't like for 2 hours. It's kind of like draining and it just kills the whole day and the whole mood versus like what you did, what you told me, which is just walk around. You see a dope church, you pop inside, you see a coffee shop, you walk in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about tours, but I'm not a tour person.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit on a tour. I just don't, for that exact reason you just said, because some things might be interesting. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then you got to listen to 30 minutes or an hour, however long the tour is, of stuff that I'm wanting to walk around. I want to go over here. I want to go over there. I don't want to have to follow people somewhere. I want to be able to and there's times where I just go, you know what? I'm just going to hang out over here, and that's what we did. That, the wife and I think me and Christopher were together for a little bit, and then Caroline and Susan were walking, and they would text, hey, we're at this one day. They're like, hey, we're at the spot. I was like, oh, cool. Where are you? Drop a pin. Let me see where you're at. They were probably a mile from us. I mean, we walked, but it was uphill and it was around and around and around. It was all the way. We didn't even get to the top, but it was an amazing view. I got some photos of it. I haven't posted them yet, but it's amazing view of the entire city of Florence. And it's amazing. I wasn't happy at first because I was like, why are you up there? I don't want to go up there. I mean, that's honest. Right. And then I got up there. I was like, man, I'm glad you found a spot. But well, dude, it's a great place. Like everywhere you look is you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. Make sure
I don't know how anybody can say it's not that good, but it is that good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, make sure you send me some photos and videos, and that way I can make some reels and slice them up.
Well, I got some photos, man. Yeah. I got some good stuff. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. I got some.
And, I think a lot of it, and listen, we've talked about this before with my buddy, Amadeo, who's been on the show before. He lives half the year in Rome. He has family in Rome. It's a little north of Rome. I think it's Abruzzo, if I remember correctly. But he has family up there. And, I told him when I got back, I was like, yo, bro, and I'm talking him up. And I've even told him before we went, he's like, listen, man, you're going to like it. You're going to get hooked. It's family. You're going to love it. But I'm telling you, it's not as good as you think. And I was like, hey. But then I started thinking he's 100% right. But he's also in his mid-20s.
Right.
So America is the greatest thing on the planet, which it is. But when you're 40 and you're getting 50 and you have kids and you've done the whole corporate thing and you've made money and you've saved and all this bullshit, you start thinking about things differently. And, especially when you have kids, obviously you can relate because you got a bunch of these things running around. But
yeah. But a couple of them have got some other ones running around. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so for you to pick up and go, it's obviously going to be much more of a challenge. But like for me, when we're so fresh in the parent thing and we've gone through so much the last couple of years that she's at such a great age where she's not even 2 yet. She's almost 2. But, she hasn't established friends. There's not a school that she goes to. It's a really cool time to travel and go somewhere else versus when she's 15 and we decide to pick up and go. And now she has hundreds of friends. It's hard to do it as they get older, I think.
Well, even when she gets 3 or 4, dude, I mean, you got to enjoy it now because once she hits that, you're paying for her as an adult to sit in a seat. So now it's, depending on what you pay $1,500, $3,000 for you guys to go. Now you're looking at an extra ticket, so 100%. now you're on whatever you fly with. Now you're looking at that 24/7 to find the cheapest flight because it adds up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's kind of.
You're right though. Yeah. I mean, it's we thought about that because that has a lot to do with whether or not we move or where we move because even with Caroline at her age is easy because she's in pre-K. So they make friends
Sure.
easily.
Yeah.
That's not that hard. They, for 5-10 minutes, they might be shy. And the next thing you know, they found 15 best friends in their class. Right.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
when you're older, like Christopher is, he's going into the 8th grade. So that's a little tougher because you go somewhere new, majority of the people that you mix in with now have been together for a while. So they have cliques. Some people are accepting, some aren't.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than when you're an adult. I can walk into a room of 100 people. I don't know anybody and I'm fine. I can talk to whoever
For sure.
as much as I want to, and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Plus, if I leave with no friends, I don't care. So it's different though when you're 13 years old. You want friends, you want to be liked by people. So moving at a younger age, you're right, it's key to try to plan that and not uproot them when they get older, because sometimes they get a little angry at their parents,
Sure.
if that happens. You take them away from what they're used to and what they
Yeah.
like and what they think is best for them, even though what's best for them.
Yeah, there'll be some resentment for sure.
There is. So when you do it young, it's a lot better. But I mentioned it earlier. We could uproot right now and go to Italy, and Christopher would not complain 1 second.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. And I think that talks a lot about the culture and kind of what the place is, right? And there's obviously there's a lot of cons. The taxes are outrageous. You can't really work in Italy. You won't make as much money, and even if you do, I think the average household brings home like 50 grand.
It's not. I don't even know if it's that much.
Yeah, it might be 30.
I think it was somewhere in the 30s. I thought is what I saw. So
but a lot of people hear that number and they're like, "Oh my god!" But remember, healthcare is free, right?
Yeah.
Your housing, you're not paying $3 grand for a mortgage. So I mean, there's just things I think from what's what I'm looking for, from a conceptual standpoint, that you have to look at when you're comparing US versus really any other country. And, like, again, Colombia, DR, Puerto Rico, Mexico, whatever, you're not going to have a Starbucks on every corner. You're not going to be able to get the new iPhone right away. You can't see new movies.
But that's
when
a
they
good
come out.
thing though, man.
Right,
I mean, to me, that's good. When we were there, we never once, but we're not chain people. We don't like to go to chains if we don't have to. We want to go somewhere new. We want to try new food, like, something local. Wherever we go, we try to eat local and not eat at a Chili's or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But, not that it's not good food, but it's just, that's not what we want. And when we went there, you don't ever look for, now there was Starbucks there, but it's like, who wants to drink Starbucks?
Yeah.
When you could have the, I don't know, the coffee is amazing too. So
coffee's great. Well, but this is where it goes back to, people are they've been pounded with this thing of like, your kids need new toys and they need Disneyland and they need, this is the American thing, where when I talk to other Americans that are like so on the tit of America, and they're like, no, bro, like you can't get what you get over there here. Like there's no way. It's way better in America than I go, what's better? And they start listing these things off and I go, is that what you value? If that's what you value, then America's the best. But like, we talked about this when we were offline, where it's like there was places, hundreds of places, $250,000 and you can get your own vineyard in Tuscany.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to get like fucking the new thing that comes out that's going to end up in the landfill in 10 years, whether it's a phone or toy, but you're going to have a castle in Tuscany on your own vineyard and you'll be able to walk everywhere. And it's just, these beautiful sights.
Do you care about Disney World? Is that what you want?
That's right.
Do you want to spend $5 grand at Disney World, or do you want to spend $5 grand and spend a week and a half, 2 weeks on the coast of Italy?
That's right.
Enjoying, great food. Or do you want to go somewhere like we went to Honduras? You take a couple thousand over there, you live like a king.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's amazing what you can buy for the dollar in Honduras. And I know people go, Honduras, that's a third world country.
Yeah.
You have to experience it though.
Yeah.
Not in the city, not downtown. We were in, she grew up. It's a nice
Right.
place. It's a pretty place. It's right on the coast. I
Yeah.
mean, walk to the beach. I don't know, 5 minutes maybe. Walk to the
Sick.
beach. Her mom's got a great house, but everything is so cheap.
Yeah.
Well, cheap for, when you're paying for it, when you're converting dollars
Right.
to what they have. It's like
Yeah.
it is. You can buy a lot of stuff
Yeah.
for that. I was like shelling out money. I'm like, God, we still have a lot left, and
Well, dude, it's like
but it's a beautiful place, and you get to
yeah.
be inside of. I got to enjoy what it was really about. Real
Yeah.
food from there. People cooking. I mean, like legit food, not at some restaurant somewhere. It
Right.
was, homemade stuff. You could walk down the street and get something that somebody made in their house. It was the craziest thing. You just don't do it here. And it was, the people are really accepting and just nice people,
Yeah.
Again, you can go somewhere and find some shitty people, I'm sure. But
Right.
if you haven't been to Honduras, it's a beautiful place to go. I mean,
That's
we were
right.
looking for land there too. So
yeah, I even have
yeah.
a buddy that's from Colombia, and he recently spent a whole year out there with family, and it's like 5-1 the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
He's like, he
It's
went down
crazy.
with $2,000, and he lived like a king
You
for
can.
like 4 months. Yeah,
You can. Yeah. You absolutely can. It's
so-
not expensive, but
Yeah.
they're happy to take your money, even though it's not a lot. They're happy to take it, and
yeah,
it goes a long way. So the food, oh God, the food is so good, man. It is. It's insane. I want to get back.
Did you personally have like a favorite dish that
No,
stands out to you?
because I've ate most of that food anyway, because her mom comes and visits here, so I eat a lot of it. I will say that, so their family had a business. Well, I guess they still kind of working it a little bit, but they growing up, she was telling me they had a business where they sold, I guess, meat and stuff, right? They had cows and stuff like that. But you pull up, we pull up the first day, and in the yard there's this big pole, and there's this cow, and this may, I don't know, piss people off, but anyway, whatever. So there's this cow, and you go in, you don't think nothing of it. It's just because I knew they were doing that. I was just like, hey, a cow, and there's chickens and stuff like that. And we go in and wake up the next morning, and we're eating like steak, eggs, and stuff like that, and it's a beautiful morning. I'm eating on the porch. It's just nice. It's like 60s and just beautiful. Just rained, and you notice there's no cow in the yard. And it doesn't hit you. It didn't hit me right away, but then I might have been Carolina, asked where the cow was, but I remember telling them that. I was like,
it's in your belly.
What do we eat? Yeah. But the thing is, they take part of it, they keep it. And right down out the driveway, 50 yards, maybe up to the corner of the road, they're selling the fresh meat right there on the corner.
Yeah.
People are buying it, and, chickens in the yard. It's just there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
well, and I think it's
all good. It's the way they cook it, really.
Yeah.
It's not really different than what we eat. It's just the way they cook it, So,
yeah, and it's just the way of life, right? Like, and again, a lot of people will look at that and they say that's hard, right? Like, you got to live on a farm, you're walking around, you don't get, Wi-Fi, maybe you don't get AC, like whatever the conditions are. So I think, again, there's pros and cons, but I think once you experience what that's like and you realize that all the other stuff you're doing is just not that important. And
it's not.
And like the views that you get, those breakfasts on the porch that you're talking about, having that every single day for 20 years, 30 years is way better than working 8 to 5, hustle bustle, trying to catch the train in New York City, like running around and getting pushed into people. And there might be like, little things you won't be able to buy but also when you're in that environment, like that's what I was talking to my buddy in Italy. When you're in that, you don't know. Things don't, like, you don't even know what's going on in America. You don't know the new fucking AI chat GPT that's on your way. You don't give a shit about that because you're just hanging out with the village and hanging out with the community. Like, you're outside. You're not worrying about all the tech stuff that's going on, which is extremely important for our civilization and the growth of humanity. And like all this stuff. I'm not downplaying what Americans been able to do, but you don't care about the new SpaceX missile that's getting launched. Like you don't care about any of that stuff. You're with family, you're in the community. And that, I think, in time, if you were to write it on paper, is more valuable than the things that we're worrying about on a daily basis now. And I think
it is. I think it's good I think it's good and important for kids to see that type of stuff too. You know,
true.
And believe me, they're not poor. It wasn't a poor situation. There are people there that don't have a lot, but
sure.
You know, as far as, you know, Susan's mom goes, she has a nice house. They have, you know, they have nice stuff, but at the same time, I think it's good to see how other countries are compared to what you have. That way, you know, you know what you have and you don't take it for granted. But yeah, I mean, when I was there, I didn't think about, I mean, we had Wi-Fi. I'd use my phone and we didn't think about anything. I didn't think about what we may be missing back home. And
right.
I mean, I would live there for 6 months if, you know, or, you know, a year or whatever. If I could do it, and she would too, but she would probably prefer Italy over anything. So,
the food alone in Italy, I think, will get anybody to turn over.
It's just so good. I mean, you pay a pretty penny for it, but it's just so good. It is just, it's hard to explain. You have to experience it. It's not that big of a difference. The biggest difference for me is just the fact that I didn't ever feel like over bloated, over full when I was eating. It was just, and we ate a lot, you know. I probably drink more. I drink a lot of coffee now, but espressos, it's like anytime, like here, it's like, oh, you know, you can't drink coffee past a certain time, you know, and all this. I drink it whenever, but over there, it's a thing. You know, you pop in, guys are, we were in one shop, guys were working and they were standing outside, and it was like, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock. They all just came in, ordered espresso, and you kind of stand at the bar. Everything is, they have like bars, right? And I don't mean like a club, but I mean like they just have bars set up. So you go in there, you could either drink or you can have an espresso. It's a shop. You know, that's what it is. And it's like expected. So when you walk in, every place has these massive espresso machines. So it's like expected. You go in there and you drink it, you're done. Same thing with drinking. It's pretty much all day. You know, if you want to go have, you know, if you're eating, let's say you're eating breakfast at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, you want to have a beer or a glass of wine or whatever, nobody says anything or looks at you sideways. It's kind of expected, you know. Not everybody does it, but it's also not, I don't think it's frowned upon like it is here. No. You know, we were in a place where you see business people come in and they sit down and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, they grab a sandwich. These sandwich shops are just amazing that we went to. You pick your sandwich, they toast it, they give it to you. I would have an espresso and a guy would come in and sit down, have a Heineken or something and go off to work. And it's
crazy.
You know, it's just, you know, I don't know. It's a cool place to go if you get a chance to go, you know, for whoever hasn't, needs to at least experience it. It's an amazing country. Now, we didn't, again, go everywhere, but we do want to go back and go see some more of the, you know, the outlying places. So I think it'd be, you know, I don't know. We want to go back, put it that way. We are going to go back. We just, you know, we're already making plans. We just got to figure out when's the best time to go.
Yeah.
So
now we'll definitely be going back before the end of this year, most likely.
Yeah. It's really, you got to find the right time to go because it's more expensive different times of the year too.
That's right.
You know, so like summertime's insanely expensive to go over there, but I don't want to go over there in the heat either. We went the perfect time. You know, it was cool. But it wasn't too cold. You could wear a jacket and you're fine. You're not too hot. You're not too cold. It was great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be great to go. It'd be great to go again this year, but I'm not sure if we'll pull that off. We may. I don't know.
I mean, it definitely is. It is pricey. The flight alone is once you get out there, it's not too bad. But yeah, once you know,
getting trains and stuff like that, or it's cheap. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know why they can't do that here. I mean, it would be nice to jump on a train and be able to be in Atlanta in 2 hours.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
only pay.
you see them kind of doing it with,
Mhm.
what is it? Whatever speed rail that is from Miami to, Orlando. So I think they're starting to do it, but it's just so ironic that, trains were the thing before cars, and then we got away from it because, the Industrial
Yeah,
Revolution kind of kicked off cars, and, then cars were the thing, and now it's EVs. But then we're starting to realize you don't need a car. Like if our public transportation didn't suck so bad, people would, I think, take more buses or trains. But unfortunately, it's just it's known as the stigma of, like, lower income families.
it is.
You're not good enough to, you know, uh, like you might be too good to be on
To
a
have a
bus, like
car.
whatever, yeah, to whatever it is. But it's also like this thing where it's just such an easy way when you go to these other countries and you realize how they've perfected it, because they are beautiful. I mean, the buses are kind of a nightmare, especially like in Rome, they were a nightmare. But I mean, the
Right.
trains were immaculate. The train stations were like airports. It's just there.
Yep.
It's such a cool way to get around. And again, everyone's so friendly. It's not like a crazy airport type style. But meanwhile, you go to like downtown Tampa or downtown Atlanta, and even just a bus station in those major cities are just disgusting. And it
Yeah.
makes you think, it's like, how is that such a shitty, when all my taxes are supposed to go to maintaining this type of stuff? And then you go to places like Rome, where it's the most popular place in Italy to go to, and it is
Right.
pristine. It's beautiful. They get more visitors than New York, and it is
Yeah.
gorgeous. So how is that possible when, you know, but then you look at like the taxes, Italians pay 60% of taxes. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe we pay more taxes, and maybe everything else. I mean, I don't know, but it's like, how is that
No, not
perfected?
here. They'll take it and put it somewhere else. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
public transportation, like trains, were just. I mean, I think the most expensive ride we took was the high speed train to Rome. I
That's right.
think it was about $160, but that's for 4 people.
Yeah. And it
I
was a great
mean,
seat too, right? They were nice.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you got the table, you have everything
Hmm.
right there, and it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's way more comfortable than a plane,
Oh yeah.
unless you're in first class. But other than that, I mean, it was, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was nice and took about 2 hours. The ride's fine. You see some beautiful scenery,
Hmm.
obviously things you've never seen before. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing about it that I like is we paid $1 per person to ride the tram that dropped us off at the train station. Well, it dropped us off at the train station every day because it was city center is what it called. But you would get dropped off there, walk up into the train station,
Mm.
go buy a ticket. Depending if you took the high speed train, you just wait, you go up there, get on the train, and you go. You have seats. If you take the normal train, which we took to Pisa, you validate your ticket, which we didn't know the first day.
Right.
And almost got hammered for it. You take that and you validate your ticket, you get on it, you can sit anywhere you want to, and then you just go and you listen for your place, and then you get off.
Yeah.
And I think it took us I think it was about an hour and a half ride to that right there cost us like $30
Yeah.
to get to Pisa. And
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I
Crazy.
could fly for 9 minutes from here to Atlanta, and it's gonna cost me anywhere from $300 or more for one person,
And it's
you know?
miserable.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's miserable.
you gotta go to the airport. I mean, now look, it does make it easy because you're only in the air for 39 minutes supposedly, but it's
Sure.
in the airport. Savannah's not bad because if I left at 9, I would get there at 8:30,
Yeah.
and you're in and then you're out. So, but then you gotta get to Atlanta, which
Hmm.
can be a nightmare. So I wish the US had transportation
Yeah.
like they do over there. It just makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well,
It
and
would be
even
great
just
to hop on a train to go anywhere you want and it just not break the bank. You could just
yeah,
jump on and go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the value of hopefully um, what enough people are going to see when they go to different places. Because now you're seeing more and more Americans come back and talk about how great Europe is and great Australia
Yeah.
is, and there's pros and cons to everything. And hopefully our government is smart enough to kind of learn from different things. I think for so long, for hundreds of years, we always thought like we were the best at a lot of stuff, which is true. We are. I'd probably say we're the best at more things than not, but that doesn't mean there's not room for improvement. And I think if we can try to figure out what that is, I
Yeah.
think that's the key, because there is definitely a lot of things. You look at like California and New York as great examples to where a lot of people, millions of people just this past year have moved out of those places because they're starting to understand, wait a minute, it's cheaper in Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Idaho, literally every state except these places. And now I'm in the position where I can work remote, which a lot of people weren't 10 years ago. So now we're able
Right.
to work remote. Why would I be in a state like California, New York that charges me 15, 20, 30% in taxes of yearly taxes as a whole, state tax, sales tax, like all that. So now I'm spending $30% tax a year, but it's got the highest homeless population. It's the most expensive. There's wildfires happening more and more every year. It's like, if I'm paying the taxes, great, fix the issues. But if I'm paying all those taxes, I can go to any other state and get better treatment. And I think that's what people are
Right.
starting to understand with other countries is if I go to Europe with $500,000, there's nothing I can get in America that for $500,000, nothing. But I can go to Europe and live like a king for $500,000.
Yeah. I
You know?
mean, now to buy a normal house, depending on where you're at,
Right.
but still, even like where we live, houses aren't insanely expensive, but for
Hmm.
$500,000, you're just getting a normal house,
Yeah.
you know, and, say 5 or 6 years ago, that house you could buy it for $250,000. And for 500,000, you were
Right.
buying a really nice house,
Yeah, that's right.
$600,000, $700,000. You had a lot.
Yeah.
And now it's
It's getting gnarly, man.
for different reasons. I mean, it's just one of those things, and yeah, it is expensive. And I don't, I could see the draw for California, but it's like, why? It might be places where, it's really beautiful and cool to hang out, but why pay that kind of money to live somewhere?
Right.
You know, um, it's just a
Yeah.
West Coast thing, I guess. It's just crazy how expensive it is over there.
Well, dude, it's
Um,
also, again, we go back to propaganda over the years where we're just fed this propaganda of California, New York. If you want to be successful, you got to go there. You got to go to LA. You got to do that. But now we talked about this too, where now you're getting more studios that are filming in Georgia
oh yeah,
and places like Texas. And I think Matthew McConaughey is opening up his own studio
yeah,
in Texas. And then you got New Jersey, where Netflix now is building another production facility. And now there's all these different places that are given studios and actors and directors and all these filmmakers better tax breaks, more obviously exposure to that specific city, which is going to obviously help the community versus, going to Warner Brothers in California. Why would you do that when you're getting bombarded with taxes as a filmmaker? You're not going to make your and you fight back on the other side of the fence. Not only getting charged all that, but people aren't going to the movies as much anymore. So you're spending
no,
all this money that made sense 50 years ago, but now it just doesn't because people are not showing up to the movies and just all these streaming platforms are taking over. So you could film anywhere in the country or the world and it's cheaper than California, New York. And it's so
yeah,
weird to me. Like I wish we had a fly on the wall that recorded those conversations because how in the past decade, this has been getting worse and worse in these states, which I love. I love New York. I love California, but it gets worse and worse. How is there not conversation where it's like, you know what? We should probably do something about this. Enough dicking around.
Well, I think there's conversations now in California, especially, but the problem is, they're
A
just
lot
not
of
doing anything about it.
yeah, a
I
lot of
mean,
red
there's
tape.
conversations, there's question marks because I mean, it's like a mass exodus,
Yeah,
but it's the people that can leave that have the money
sure.
to move somewhere else. It's not always. I mean, I'm sure there's other people, but I think what we're hearing is the people that have a lot of money, the
Right,
the
of course.
celebrities that are leaving.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love New York. New York's expensive. You know, it's not just on the West Coast, but I mean, New York's expensive. New England is expensive. That whole
Yeah.
area up there is expensive. That's why they all come down south,
Yep.
you know, and live in Florida, Georgia, and
Yeah.
you know, North Carolina and South Carolina on the coast and stuff. That's why they do cheaper. You know, they sell their house up there $1.5 million, and they get all that cash, and they come down here, and you can buy, you know, you buy one home to live in and one home on the coast, you know,
Yeah. That's right.
and or you know, something simple. I mean, you know, it's or just buy one big ass house on the coast, and
Yeah.
they have the cash to pay for it. And
Yep.
I don't know, it's but you're right. I mean, independent filming is taking over. So, you know, that's why I think a lot of people are just, yeah, they're moving to these places and realizing that they can make it cheaper. They don't have to have $350 million to make a film now. You know, I mean, you do pay that, but with
Yeah.
independent filming, there's a lot of people that raise that money that great film and they don't have to pay. You know,
That's
they don't
right.
have to go to a studio and request that kind of money to have something made. So, and yeah, big tax breaks in Texas, and I think in Utah, I think they have pretty good tax breaks there. Georgia,
Yeah.
yeah, it's attractive to people who are in that type of business. So I'm filming another movie in June, which is going to be amazing, fun, and
Yeah.
so
Which one's that?
it's called A New Beginning that I
Nice.
wrote. Yeah, it actually stems from a like a 2-minute thing that I wrote back in 2010, and I pulled it out about a year ago.
Oh.
And it was actually about it was about a guy that was consoling his friend. His wife had left him after a lot of ultimatums, and the guy never listened. And he was met him at the bar. He was just consoling him and all that kind of, it was really, I wrote it so that I could work on something like that and work on the lighting, the filming, all that kind of stuff. So I wrote it for that reason, but then it's always stuck with me. And then I pulled it out about a year ago and started messing around with it and kind of making some notes and figuring out like, how can I make this different? You know, what can I do to add to this to make it a movie? And then I didn't want to make it your typical, it's like, this could turn into 100 movies you've seen before. I don't want that.
Sure.
So how could it be different? So kind of went dark with it, and it's a major twist in it, but it's really about two best friends that grew up together. One's bad, one's good, but the bad one had a bad life growing up, no parents there, they're terrible. And then he runs into the other guy and they meet, they become best friends, ends up his family takes him in. Ryan being the bad guy, Chris being the good guy. But Chris's family brings Ryan in and kind of takes him in for his own, as their own. And long story short, Ryan rides the coattails of Chris his whole entire life. That's how he becomes successful. That's the only reason he has success. So there's a lot of jealousy in there, a lot of pent up jealousy and frustration because of that, but he doesn't show it until later on. So that's how the movie builds. And it comes out later on that that's the reason why he does what he does. I'm not going to talk about what he does, but there's reasons why he does what he does in the film. And those are the reasons because of his jealousy and how he, kind of how he perceives himself and how he thinks everybody else perceives him is, it's that all wrapped up into
that sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah. Man. So it's pretty cool. So it took me about, I don't know, 6 months. I wrote it fast, but it took about 6 months to really rewrite it, really dial it into exactly how I wanted it, and rewrites and stuff like that. And yeah, we shoot it in June, man. So I'm excited. This is actually going to be, I'm excited for this one. So, and we got one that's finishing up editing that will be going to film festivals too. So
nice.
Called Splinter. So excited about that one too.
Yeah. And where could people find all the stuff? Do you put it on your site?
So I do have, I put it on the website, but I put a lot of stuff. So we'll create different accounts. So it is on Instagram. it will be on YouTube, on my YouTube.
Nice.
So once we start filming this, there'll be a lot of behind the scenes and stuff like that on YouTube, but we'll also put it on Instagram. But
Very cool.
I mean, you got my Instagram, obviously, which is Jason Manchester, but then you have like A New Beginning.
Mhm.
That's a page on Instagram. And then Splinter has one as well. So,
Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah. And then, I'll put stuff on my website. And if, like people can go to my website and sign up for casting calls and stuff.
Nice.
And then also sign up for like special behind the scenes stuff that I'll be putting out that you'll only be able to get if you sign up for that type of stuff. So,
oh, cool. Okay. Well, I'll leave all that. I'll leave all that in description below too, so people could, check that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
man.
anybody independent filmmaking or new movies coming out and stuff like that. Yeah. We got some pretty cool things coming out. I'm excited about it. So
sick, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, dude, you've always been a passionate and very talented filmmaker. So I'm stoked to see kind of this new chapter of you going hard with this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
I know, man.
Yeah.
Excited to show it.
And then we got some more work that we got to do too. So we'll stay connected. We'll stay connected on some stuff and crank it out. But yeah, as always, man, Jason, thank you for coming on, man. We'll have to do a part 2 of this. We'll talk about maybe creation and filmmaking and all that jazz as well.
Yeah, I think that's what we hit up next. Yeah.
Okay.
Some new people.
All right, brother. Appreciate the time, man.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.